First, we need to give recognition to the indigenous people of this land, and in particular this region, which is the land of the Oloni people. As Palestinians, we can never speak about Palestine without recognition of the genocide that has been committed toward our indigenous brothers and sisters in the Americas, not only in this area, but up and down the Americas. Second, also we need to give recognition to our brothers, the black community, that is different and distinct in their struggle because they came to this country in the hulls of ships, not by their own choice, but to experience enslavement from the western shores of Africa to George Floyd in Minneapolis. Their struggle has not ended. Now, the past week, there has been somewhat of a coverage of the massacre in Tunisia. And some are celebrating the fact that Haaretz published the details about the massacre and the mass graves. And some pointed on social media about this fact. But let's remind those who are celebrating it, we're saying that's good that Haaretz wrote about it. But when a student of Professor Ilan Pape wrote in the University of Haifa an MA thesis speaking about the massacre, the student was pressured to change their conclusion, and Professor Ilan Pape was chased out of his position in the University of Haifa. But we could go a little bit further. Palestinians wrote about this massacre in 1948. Their narrative of what happened was written in multiple books. More so, Professor Walid Khalidi wrote about it in his research as early as the 1960s. While we welcome Johnny come lately of Haaretz, and again, we welcome it, but don't tell us that it's Israel and Zionism trying to deal with history, because history has not stopped. What happened for Palestinians in 48, it is taking place today in Sheikh Jarrah, it's taking place in the Naqab, it's taking place in Al Khalil, it's taking place in Nablus, it's taking place in Wadi Jos, it's taking place in every city and town that the Palestinians are facing. More so, we have 6,000 Palestinian political prisoners that are in prisons today, and no one mentions their names. No one knows their history. No one knows their family. No one speaks about their pain and suffering on a daily basis. Yet our congressional leadership, again, they're there. Our State Department, our president, whenever they speak, they mention whatever Palestinians are holding some in Gaza. When the whole Gaza are under open air prison, 2 million people, no electricity, 4 hours of electricity a day, no gas that is given to them, no food, no medicine, hospitals have been bombed, water is polluted, and yet the civilized, uncivilized world only knows to speak Zionist language, knows how to speak for Israel. Our suffering and our struggle is not only with Israel, but those that empower it. Every bullet that Israel hits is made in the United States. Every bullet that hits a Palestinian is made from the United States. Every F-16 that flies over the Palestinians is courtesy of the United States. Every tank that bombs in Gaza, every sniper that is shooting on the Gazans is made in the United States. More so, when we actually get the time to have our cause represented in these gatherings of international community. And again, I'm sorry, when Europe and the United States meet and they say they're the international community, they represent 1/20th of the world population. You're a minority of the world community. But they made an bet. They veto the resolution. They veto the investigation. They derailed the fact that the Palestinians have been facing systematic settler colonialism, not since 1948, but since 1917, when the British, with the Balfour Declaration, with al-Lambi entering into Jerusalem in 1917, we've been facing settler colonialism. Palestine is the last settler colonial project to be commissioned by the European powers. It was the last settler colonial project